Welcome to Patty for Liberty. Today is my birthday, and what am I doing today? I'm making a video for my YouTube channel, and I also wrote a blog post to go with this that you can read on pattyforliberty.com, and I hope you'll read the blog post too because I put a lot more information in the post. And I'm also much better at writing than I am at making videos, but I'm working on that. Eventually, I will have a better setup and be able to make a little bit more professional videos. But for now, this is what I've got, and I appreciate those of you that have subscribed, and I hope if there's anyone that new that finds me that you will subscribe because I am trying to grow this channel and spread liberty in a positive way. So today I want to talk about the affordable housing crisis and why we need libertarian solutions. So 20.8 million American renters are cost burdened, which means they're paying 30% or more on rent. And 1 in 4 renters are spending more than half their income on rent. In some areas of the country, you have to work 2 jobs if you are a low wage earner just to pay rent, and this is causing problems with homelessness and people not able to pay rent and getting kicked out and not having a place to stay. And it's a real big concern for millennials who are the ones that are struggling with this the most. While everyone else is talking about gas prices and inflation, millennials are worried about the high cost of rent and what they're going to do if rent keeps going up. There are a lot of millennials that are trying to get out of renting and buy a home, and they can't buy a home for the same reason that rent prices are going up, because there's just not enough homes to go around. And there was a story that floated around a while back about millennials being the cause of inflation. And so millennials are getting the short end of the stick. They're getting blamed for everything. And while they definitely didn't cause the high rent prices or inflation, but they are a factor. The millennial generation is bigger than the baby boomers, and now all the millennials are trying to buy homes, and there just aren't enough of them because we didn't build enough of them. And now millennials are trying to buy homes. They can't get into home. They're stuck in a ridiculous rent prices, and they can't get out of them because they can't move into something else. So they're just stuck. And what are they hearing from us older Gen Xers and boomers? Stop whining. You're a bunch of entitled people, and you just want everything for free. And I don't think that's true. And I think we're missing a big opportunity to reach people that are potential voters that are unhappy with who they have as a leader of their country. And us libertarians need to be giving them libertarian solutions to the housing crisis and a reason to vote libertarian. So that's why I wanted to talk about this. I did a search before I made this video, before I wrote my blog post, to see if libertarians were even talking about this and if I could pick their brains for what they're saying when they do talk about this. And what I found was not very many libertarians are talking about this. I found one blog post in YouTube or in Google by Brandon Davis, our libertarian governor candidate in Nevada, and he wrote a really excellent post about the affordable housing crisis in Nevada, which their circumstances are unique to Nevada, but the housing crisis and the circumstances are pretty similar across the country. And I also found a blog post from my friend, Donna, I can't remember how you say your last name, Grendel Krieg, I think is her last name. And she wrote something on the Michigan Libertarians website called Affordable Housing Thrives Without Zoning, and I think it's worth your reading. And I wrote something about this back in 2018 when I ran for office. I wrote a blog post about millennials struggling to find affordable housing in Grand Rapids. And I'm not sure what all the dynamics in Grand Rapids are now, but I know that there were a lot of people that did not want to see affordable housing in Grand Rapids. So what I've noticed when I read comments from people that are millennials that are talking to me about rent, They have a bit of an adversarial relationship with landlords, and they just think we're money-grabbing, greedy people that want to squeeze them for as much money as they can. Or they think that big investors are just buying up all the properties and jacking up the price. And that's certainly true in some areas. But for the most part, most landlords are individuals, people like me. In fact, I was a landlord not that long ago. When I moved from Michigan, I rented my house out for about a year while I was trying to figure out what I was doing with it. So I've been a landlord, and I'm certainly not some wealthy person. I was just making just enough to cover my mortgage and my property taxes and stuff, and I wasn't bringing, in fact, I lost money as a landlord. So we're not all money greedy people that are in the landlord business. Most landlords are individuals that own 1 or 2 or 3 housing units. They don't have big apartments or big bucks. They're just regular people. So that's one myth. But I don't want to say that people are wrong. In certain areas of the country, especially where the rental market is really hot, investors are buying up all the homes. In the Houston area, for example, in fact, I think all the big cities in Texas are struggling with this. Investors have purchased a lot of the inventory. 28% of the inventory in Texas is being purchased by institutional investors, and then they're just jacking up the prices. So there is some validity to the fact that investors are driving up the price. But they're not the only problem, and the solution to it is we need more houses. And I've seen some other libertarians saying this, but the answer to it when people say, hey, the solution to a housing shortage is we need more houses, a lot of people don't think that that's the actual case. That I've heard people say there's millions of vacant properties, but if they're not being rented, or they're not on the market, they're not houses that people can rent or buy, so they don't count. If there's somebody's vacation property up north, that's just a vacant home. It's not one that's rentable. But what's really driving up the prices is zoning laws. And you can see this anywhere if you just look at it. And I think a lot of people may be aware of this to an extent, but they're not really. They think investors are just buying the properties up and the rent is going up because they just want to jack it up, which may be true to some extent, but the property values are going up for the same reason the rent is going up. So they're paying higher prices on taxes and they're passing it on to the renters. So it's a relationship. When home prices go up, rent prices go up. But the biggest solution to it is building more houses, and that's where we're struggling. And people think that it's just landlords and big companies being greedy, but the bigger issue is 75% of the cities in our country aren't allowed to build anything but single family housing. They have zoning laws that say the only kind of homes you can build are single family homes, and even on they even restrict lot sizes or how tall buildings can be. So even if you have a plot of land that could house 3 homes, you're only allowed to put 1 home on there. And that's part of the problem, that there's only so much land in these cities, and the zoning laws keep people from building things that would provide more housing, like apartments, duplexes, or multifamily housing, and they're not allowed to build them. And this is because of zoning laws. And I know this was going on in Grand Rapids, and my guess is this is going on in Albuquerque and all kinds of parts of the country, that the zoning laws are keeping construction and building new, bigger buildings like apartments that can house people, where people can afford to pay rent because there's more housing. So new construction would alleviate a lot of the housing issues, but we can't do it because most of the zoning laws across the country don't allow you to build more than just 1 house on a lot, and they determine that. So that's where we can make a difference as libertarians. We can start talking about the burdens that government has created on the housing market, that people can't build affordable housing because the local government in their area won't let them. So in my blog post, I talked about this a little more. It's not just government, big government, or little local government that's stopping people from developing and building more houses. It's what they call NIMBYs, which stands for Not in My Backyard. And I saw this going on in Grand Rapids. People don't want big apartment buildings and affordable housing buildings in their neighborhood because it will affect their neighborhood. They're concerned about gentrification. They're concerned about their neighborhood changing, and now they have this beautiful house that they worked hard for, and there's this apartment building next door that they don't want there. So some of the problem isn't just that the government creates these zoning laws, it's that people push the government to keep them in place because they don't want their home value to go down. They don't want their neighborhood to change. They don't want new people to come in and buy up all the property in their neighborhood. So it's a complicated issue. It's not a simple fix because if you say, hey, let's just build these affordable housing units in, I'm going to say Albuquerque, let's just build all these big apartments, and then all the home prices around that apartment go down. Some of these people that are going to end up seeing their home value plummet and be underwater on their mortgage because now it's not worth what it was when they paid for it. So, there's a lot of considerations here for everybody, and what's going on is everyone's getting the government to take care of them. So if you are a millennial and you think that there should be affordable housing in your community and there's not, where you can change things is at the local level. And this is where libertarians can make a dent at the local level. We can change zoning laws. We can pull all these government restrictions that are keeping people from building more houses from happening by reducing the amount of bureaucracy and zoning laws going on in the local level. And if you are a millennial or a Gen Z, if you really want to make a difference in the housing prices, start looking at your local candidates and see how do they feel about housing. Do they think zoning laws are good? Are they accommodating affordable housing in your community, or are they saying, nope, not in my backyard, you can put that apartment somewhere else? So these are solutions I think libertarians should be talking about, getting government out of zoning so that people can build more homes. And if we don't start working on this, like building more homes now, the Gen Zs are coming along right after the millennials, and they may be a larger generation than the millennials. So we're not going to fix this housing shortage in a year or two. This is going to take time. And the sooner we start building more houses, the sooner the price of housing and rent goes down. And so that's what I think we should be talking about more as libertarians, local government, and how getting zoning laws and some of the government red tape that keeps people from building affordable housing from happening out of the way, so we can build more houses so people can pay less for rent. And this is stuff that the younger generation, if you're looking for candidates, you need to be looking at candidates on a local level. Don't just vote for whoever's running as your governor or senator or who's running for president. It's not just about Joe Biden or Donald Trump. You really need to be reading about your local government candidates and how they feel about the issues that matter to you, and particularly about housing and zoning laws. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. And I've said before, YouTube's not my best means of communicating, but I'm working on that. And I'm trying to grow this channel with content that libertarians can talk about, can share. So if you liked my channel at all, this is a work in progress, and I appreciate the people who have subscribed and are tuning in. So please hit the like button and share this with any of your younger millennials, Gen Z friends that are asking themselves, why is rent so high? This is why, because we are keeping it that way by not building more houses. So happy birthday to me. Thanks for listening to me talk for so long. I appreciate your time, and I will talk to you again soon about The next one I want to make is about the Indian Child Welfare Act, and hopefully I can get that done in the next week.